Staying there with Rushing Water, you're listening to the Arvo Flow. It's time to head to our feature interview for the day. It's with an artist from the musical group The Near, who's got a fantastic new release that's just dropped. We'll be playing that one for you a little later on in the show today, but for now, here's the first part of the interview where our artist in focus for the day speaks about her background and how she fell into everything.
So I have a little bit of I think it's a bit of an interesting story. I never traditionally did any music growing up. I never studied it in school, wasn't really part of my passions or interests. I was always a sports girl. So it wasn't until later on in life, around about 2015, I met my husband and started to do a bit of singing and writing. And then everything just started to flow from there. I became super passionate about it and now have about 60 original songs written, which I'm finally at that point where I think, I need to do something with these. So
that's great. That's awesome. I love hearing that. Why don't you talk to us about growing up on the Gold Coast? We don't broadcast into the Gold Coast, but for all those listening in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, just tell us about what the music scene is like on the Gold Coast, because a lot of people perhaps might only have, sort of tourism kind of vibes associated with the city, but there's quite a nice sort of backdrop of, up and coming artists that live on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm finding more and more that the styles are sort of broadening. Like you can go anywhere on the weekend and you'll hear anything from jazz to pop to hip hop. And you can go to. We went to Miami Marquetta on the weekend and saw some amazing young up and coming original artists playing their music, and the audience, to be honest, were just captivated by them. It was really good to see that people are getting out there and supporting original music.
Well, your music is certainly fantastic, and you'll be flying the flag for the Gold Coast. There's no question about that in the years to come. But before we get on to talking about the latest track that you've put out, I'm just going to ask you about your singing and songwriting processes.
Yeah, okay. So this is interesting as well. Basically, what we sort of do, I write a lot with my husband. We sort of audition chord progressions, find something that sounds nice. And then eventually one of us will come up with a melody and go, oh, that sounds all right. Myself, I like to start with choruses first. I think the chorus for me brings everything in. So I'm a big fan of ballad-type soaring choruses. So if I can get that down, then it generally brings the rest of the flow in. As for the lyrics, I honestly never know what I'm writing about until the song's finished and someone says, what was that about? And then I have to actually think about what I've written about.
Don't worry, I'm sure it's more common than you think.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a good segue into discussing this latest track of yours. So I believe COVID had a bit to do with this latest song, Find My Way.
It did, actually. So towards the end of last year, we were living in northern New South Wales, about 5 minutes from the Queensland border. And we were both working in Queensland at the time. And then obviously, I think everyone knows about the big statewide border shutdowns.
The table tennis?
Yeah. So that made things very different. Living on one side and working on the other became a huge challenge. So basically, to cut a long story short, my family became separated. So myself and the kids had to go and stay with family members, put all of our belongings in storage, and my husband had to go and quarantine in Brisbane to be able to then go back to work and stay over the border with his family members up that side. So, yeah, I remember sitting on the floor in the house as I was cleaning everything out thinking, oh my gosh, is life ever going to go back to normal?
Yeah, you can't be blamed for having thought that, because it was a hard time for everyone, certainly in those parts of the world. Now, let's get on to actually discussing the production of the track and the timeline. So when did you sort of, first start writing, and then by what time were you in a studio banging this one out?
It was actually, it wasn't going to be the first release. We were going to start with something else, but this song fell together really quickly, and I always know when they fall together quick that I'm going to like them. And it wasn't long after, I think it was maybe November, December, I linked up with Brad Hosking, who I also study at Southern Cross University, and he's my course coordinator. So I linked up with him and we got into the studio, and I think I spent maybe a day with him, and we got it all down really fast.
We'll play you the second part of that interview right after this, as well as playing the newly released single from the group, The Near. Plenty more to come right after this. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Arvo Flow. That was Morgan Evans with Love Is Real, and you're listening to the Arvo Flow. It's time to head to our second part of our feature-length interview today, where our artist from The Near talks about any upcoming tours that are planned for the group, as well as profiling the latest single that's just dropped. And we've got it hot off the press to play for you here on the Flow airwaves. Enjoy.
I'm trying to get a good roll on. We've just finished recording the rest of the EP. So I'm planning on basically releasing a single every 4 to 6 weeks and then aim at releasing the EP in October. It's a pretty sweet collection of very different songs. They all each have their own personality, which is pretty cool. And then in June, I think it's the 18th of June, we're playing at the Release the Sounds Festival, which is just a little mini music festival on the Gold Coast, which should be pretty cool.
Well, make sure that if you're in the Gold Coast or if you're planning a holiday around that time, that you consider heading out to that one. If people want to get in touch with you, engage with you on your music, where should they head to?
Probably my Instagram page, The Near. I also am obviously on Spotify and Apple Music as The Near.
Fantastic work. Well, we've got your single, your newly released single, ready to play here on the air. So why don't you just introduce yourself and your latest song for us?
Excellent. Hello, everyone. I'm Carly. I'm from The Near, and this is my debut single, Find My Way.